So the big question is this: how do most agents who struggle to get the information that most successful agents hoard to themselves grow and prosper without this information? That's the big question, and this video cast is the answer. Welcome to Real Estate Rockstars. I'm your host, Pat Hyben. And now, for the review of the day. All right, I got a review or a comment on YouTube. Yes, go to YouTube and type in Real Estate Rockstars Radio to comment on every single episode that comes out. But Kev C21, assuming that's an agent named Kevin from Century 21, he says, I'm a California licensed agent and commissions are not set by law. They are fully negotiable by any and all parties. It's plain, capitalized language on our listing and purchase agreement. 90% of all sellers at listing appointments ask me for a discount. People may also hire no broker to buy or sell in FSBO. Also, plenty of brokers and agents will stick a property in MLS for a flat fee. Plenty of flat fee brokers. No collusion, no obstruction. Many alternatives exist in the marketplace for consumers. My commissions are negotiable from 6% to 10%. Whatever people want to pay. Don't like it? Go get a discount agent who does discount work and get your discount value. Pay peanuts, get monkeys. Buyers who want me to give them some of my paycheck will gladly get it, provided they give me money from their paycheck first. I will give them back their own money because plenty of real estate agents barely graduated high school, if that. There are plenty of agents who just accept any fee, over $1,000 to do anything on any value of any home. Those high school minded agents feel any money is better than no money at all. This lawsuit will do nothing to alter the commission landscape. Even if they made brokerage activity illegal, it will never stop, right? Cocaine pusher. Much ado about nothing. Big fat nothing burger. Learn how to put homes in escrow as an investor and get an end user to move into the house. Just maintain a principal position in the transaction. Woo! That was a long one. Thank you, Kev C21 from California. And he was talking about the NAR lawsuit and, of course, now the Department of Justice requesting all the co-op commissions that Matrix had to provide. Keep the comments coming, guys. I love them. And remember, I eat feedback for breakfast. So give me a 1-star review if you want, or a 5-star review if you want. I don't care. And the more reviews we get, the better guests we get. So please, subscribe first, and then leave us a review or wherever you're listening.
Welcome, Rockstar Nation. Thanks for tuning into the State of the Market podcast with your host, Pat Hyben and Kevin Kaufman.
Rockstar Nation, welcome to State of the Market. I have a co-host today that is not Kevin Kaufman, but it is Carrie Grinkmeyer, and Carrie is very opinionated on some subjects, mainly real estate sales news, and I thought he would be a good match to fill in for Kevin Kaufman while he is away with family this week. Carrie, welcome to State of the Market.
Thank you, Pat. It's a pleasure to be here. And as you said, I do have an opinion.
Hey, Carrie, why don't you just give everybody a little brief rundown on who you are so they know who's my co-host today? Yeah.
I'm a retired financial advisor. I got into the real estate industry about 3 years ago because I understood and recognized that it's a changing industry. And I like change. I like to be involved in trying to find the cutting edge and get ahead of movement. And we're in a changing industry. We got a couple news stories, I think, that talk about that change. Open Door, some taxes being levied by states relative to various realms of real estate, and then the change in the demographics of our country, and where real estate's headed in the future.
Yeah, and I
And I
love
think
that.
these three stories really touch on it.
And I love talking about the future of this real estate industry that we love. So let's get into some. Oh, by the way, and Kerry, he didn't mention this, but he is a successful real estate agent, focusing
Oh
mainly
yeah, okay.
on selling luxury, high-end homes. He only sells high-end homes, and I did an interview with him that hasn't been released yet, which will be released over the summer, and so be on the lookout for that. So, Kerry, let's jump into news here. First of all, I want to talk about Open Door. Open Door lays 50 people off and then asks the rest of them, hundreds of others, to move to 300 to move to Phoenix, which is no joke, moving to Phoenix. And so, who knows who else will bail, when this is all said and done, 350 people. And this is out of 1,300. So, 25% or so.
Yeah.
So what do you think is going on with this? Why are they doing this?
Well, my experience in industry basically says that when you're working on tight margins, which we know they are with this flipping way they're approaching the real estate market, you've got to cut your expenses. And the quickest way, the biggest expense you're always going to have is people. So the first thing you'll do is lay off people, and then you have to consolidate and get your business down to where the revenues that you generate come closer to the cost that you're creating. And I believe that this flipping industry is going to succeed. I'm not sure who are going to be the survivors. And it does look like the incubation place of this industry is Phoenix, both from Open Door and Zillow. And I think they're just cutting back, and I commend them. If you're going to run a successful industry, and this is something that I think is unique in the world we live in. Back when I first was in the business, when you approached a business, you looked at profit and cost. Today, you have angel investors who throw money at you and say, we think you got a good idea. And in fact, if you make money today, it's not a big issue. If we see the potential in the future, and I would imagine their investors have come back and said, hey, you got to get this balance sheet a little bit more in line. And the best way to do that is lay some people off. And they do that. Bring your costs down.
Whenever you get so many, whenever you raise more and more money, you get harder and harder advice, as to what to do to cut costs. And, now they're currently valued at $3.8 billion, which is crazy.
Right.
For a commercial.
And they've never made a penny.
Never made a penny. And this is a commercial flipper,
no.
Guys. This is a commercial flippers, all they are. Basically, we'll buy your home for cash, then they fix it up, then they flip it. I had read once that their profit margin that they seek, right, is only 4%. Compared to Joe Schmo flipper. Like, I know a lot of Joe Schmo flippers, and they're looking, anywhere from 10 to 20.
Exactly.
And so these guys only want 4%. So yeah, they got to cut internal costs in order to make this work. And so it'll be interesting to see, who knows what happens with these companies, whether I never thought flipping would get as big as it did. Cause I was doing flipping like 7 years ago and making, a decent amount of money doing it. And then I stopped because I thought the margins were getting smaller and smaller. And that was like 4 or 5 years ago. I'm kicking myself in the butt. I could have made probably a couple $1 million just continuing to do it over the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, I quit way too early. Way too early.
And I think it all goes back to why is it becoming so attractive? And I think it's because people are not comfortable and anxious to go through the laborious real estate process. So they're filling a void. And as from our past conversations, I believe this is all being driven by demographics. And the demographics are that The baby boomers are aging, they're dying, and they're going to need to sell their houses. And
Yeah, that's
and
our
these
that's kind
flippers
of
are providing.
yeah. I mean,
Go ahead.
that's kind of our third story there. So it's interesting, and I just I don't know. You called it laborious process of selling a house. I mean, a lot of people listening be like, shit, it's not laborious because, that's what an agent does. That's why that's what you have an agent for. Um, don't give your house away. But the problem is they're coming in and they're making the offers so close to what an agent would sell it for that it's just
Exactly.
it just works for them. So be interesting. To see whether, these commercial flippers like Open Door are going to be in the business, 5 years from now or not. But let's move on to the second one. There's a bunch of companies, and first article came from Housing Wire. This one comes from Inman. A bunch of municipalities are coming up with ways, and this ties into the commercial flipping business because flipping is making so much freaking profits. Airbnbs are making so much freaking profits compared to regular rentals that, of course, whenever anybody wants to make money, it makes a lot of money in a capitalist society. Of course, the government says, hey, well, we want a part of that. And I'm going to just really quickly read these 5 states that are coming up with these things, and I'm going to let you comment on them. All right. So first of all, New York has a bill out in the Senate for a 20% transfer tax on properties in New York City sold within 1 year. You buy a house, you fix it up, you flip it. And by the way, this includes Open Door and OfferPad and all these guys. They're not exempt from this, right? So those companies are going to have hurting margins. But anyways, 20% year one.
20%.
15% year two. And after that, there's nothing. So if you flip a house within 2 years, you're going to pay 15 or 20% transfer tax. That means tax paid by the seller at settlement. And so and the transfer tax, by the way, is based on the sale price, not your equity. So if you're borrowing money on this thing, it makes no difference. If you're flipping $1 million house, that's 20 grand that you're going to pay. 200 grand. Hey, real estate agents and rock stars. If you're getting value out of the content in this episode, make sure you like the video and subscribe to this channel. Also, click the little bell icon to be notified about upcoming episodes. And I would also love it if you left a comment and shared the most impactful tips and tactics you've learned from the knowledge shared in this episode, or even maybe make a suggestion requesting a topic of what you'd like to learn in future episodes. I welcome any feedback below. Now, back to the episode. $200 grand
on $1 million. Yeah.
On $1 million house, 20%. If you flip $1 million house in New York City, an apartment or whatever, $200,000.
Yeah.
I mean, that's your profit. There'll be no flipping in New
The
York.
margin,
Basically,
no flipping. No flipping allowed in New York.
no flipping allowed in New York City. Forget about it. Yeah. Okay, New Jersey, 11.625. What? How the hell they come up with these numbers? Why not just say 12%? 11.625% tax on short-term rentals. Short-term rentals, right? 11.625. So just any money you make on short-term rentals, which is probably anything less than 90 days, is typically what they go on.
I don't think this is unusual. I know we used to travel to Nassau. Nassau has had, or Key West. Key West had that rule for years. And who's behind it is your hotel industry.
Yeah.
They
pay
I know
it.
here in
They pay
Birmingham, they pay it. Yeah. And so they're saying, hey, these people need to pay it because they're cutting into our profits.
Yep.
So that makes sense.
New Mexico's doing the same thing. And, I know in Folly Beach, South Carolina, where I live, they have, I think it's upwards of 14% or something. It might even be 18%, but you just got to pay it. You got to work it into
Yeah.
your numbers when you're buying an Airbnb. In Hawaii, they're going to collect a transient accommodation excise taxes. Basically, it's the same thing.
Same thing.
They're expecting to make $46 million a year from the government. And then in Montana, this is nothing. Short-term lodging, raising it from 3% to 4%. That's a joke. I mean, why not go 12%?
Yeah.
Like some of these other companies. So they're all getting into this. So what do you think about this? Everybody's tapping into where real estate investors, whether you buy and hold or whether you flip, are making money. Every government, every municipality wants a piece of it. It seems like. What's your take on this?
As I read that article, did you watch the Democratic debates?
I did not. I saw a preview of it last night. Actually,
okay.
Not a preview, but like 2 minutes. No,
it's a direction that our society is going. That we got to take care of those people who don't have. The governments have to be supported. The governments have created enormous debt that they have to take care of, and they're going to go after any source that they can raise money. And when you pointed it out in New York, when somebody is flipping and again, we talk about it. You talk about $1 million transaction on an apartment, and here in Birmingham, that would be crazy. That no such thing as like that exists, but in New York City, it does. They're going to close people out of that part of the industry. I don't see any problem with the tax that you're putting on the Airbnbs and the vacation by owners. The hotels have to pay that, and so they're just merely trying to level the playing field again. And I think that's fair.
Yeah,
personally.
I think what's happened is there's become such a gap. Let's take New York, for example. There's become such a gap between a house that's not fixed up and a house that is fixed up. You know what I mean? It's just such a gap, and they're trying to fill in that gap a little bit. So the houses then become, well, I got to buy this house that's not as beat up. Or is more beat up or not as fancy. I don't know. It's interesting. On one hand, you'd say, what's the big deal? If you're giving the people what they want. They want a house that doesn't need repair.
Yeah, that's true. But I think the issue that they're speaking to is that as they fix these houses up, the value of property goes up, as then do the property taxes. This happened in Hilton Head. As the wealthy moved into Hilton Head, the property taxes went up, and the general citizens could no longer live there.
That happens a lot. Yeah.
This is happening, and that's what I think New York City is trying to protect. Is you're coming into our boroughs that have kind of fallen into decay, and you're now making them attractive, and you're going to drive the people who live there now out. Just because of property taxes going up. So, yeah, I think that part of it's legitimate. I don't know that I go along with put a 20% tax on
That's
top
crazy.
of the price of a home. That is crazy.
And
it's going after one segment of the population. But we're becoming more, watch the Democratic debates. There are a bunch of us who want to, I shouldn't say us, who want to become a socialist state, take care of those who don't have.
Well, that's interesting. I guess they got to,
and that's something we got to watch out.
They got to appease their constituents too, which are a bunch of elderly people that are living on the blocks that are where gentrification is taking place, and they're like, hey, we can't afford to live here. I never thought about it from that angle, but it kind of makes sense. So okay, so let's move on to
that's what. Okay.
Yeah, let's move on to our last one because it kind of comes into this. You know what I mean? It kind of everything kind of runs together today, and that was
Mm-hmm.
an article that came out in Governing, and basically what it's talking about is the hidden debt. And what they mean by the hidden debt is a debt that nobody's talking about. They're saying that 35% of households, millennials, let's say, under the age of 35, millennials are like 20 to 35, or might be 22 to 37 now, but own, um, basically what it's saying is 35% of millennials, right, under 35 years old, own houses. 65% don't. Now, it used to be 40%
Right.
and 60% 20 years ago. And what does that mean, right?
Right.
Basically what it means is 3.5 million buyers, or roughly 3.5 million buyers, which is the 5% delta there, are not buying houses before 35, compared to 20 years
Right.
ago, where there was 3.5 million more millennial buyers in the market. So I guess the question is, what does this mean? What talk to me about this. Why is
Well, I
this?
think, yeah, I just compare it to myself. I graduated from Ball State University in 1966, and I had no debt. I had worked in a factory and at nights and paid my way through school. My grandchildren will graduate from one college, and I estimate my granddaughter will probably have $50,000 in debt. She's got some scholarships, but she's working part of her way, and she's got some debt. How do you then go buy a house? My wife and I bought a house within 3 months after we got married. How do you go buy a house with $50,000 debt? You don't. You can't. So I think that's what's driving this. I think we have a debt situation in this nation that is growing at leaps and bounds, and nobody wants to talk about it. I just saw a piece on TV the other night of a young man who appeared to be 28 years old, and he said that he was rebelling and he wasn't paying his student debt loans, and that if he didn't pay them for 3 years, they would be determined uncollectible, and the government would take over his debt, and his payment would go down to 25%. His payment would go down 75%. And he said he could live with that. Well, that's the world we live in today. Elizabeth Warren basically is saying, excuse all debt, excuse all education debt, and that everybody. And then another one of the candidates said, no, only excuse it for those who can't afford it. Don't excuse it for the wealthy. So debt is becoming a problem.
If you're wealthy, you don't need to get a loan.
It's going to create.
Hey, real estate agents and rock stars. If you're getting value out of the content in this episode, make sure you like the video and subscribe to this channel. Also, click the little bell icon to be notified about upcoming episodes. And I would also love it if you left a comment and shared the most impactful tips and tactics you've learned from the knowledge shared in this episode, or even maybe make a suggestion requesting a topic of what you'd like to learn in future episodes. I welcome any feedback below. Now, back to the episode.
You don't need to get a loan.
Right.
So I think this is going to affect our real estate industry.
Okay, so let's
How
talk
can
about
a
that.
student?
It already is affecting it. So it's
Okay.
3.5 million less first-time
Yeah.
buyers, right? 3.5 million less first-time buyers.
Exactly.
Now, here's an interesting stat that on the same article said, the net worth, right? How much money millennials had in the bank in the 80s compared to how much money
Yeah.
millennials have in the bank now is 40% less. 40%
Right.
less. You know, they on average under 35 years old used to be about $21,000, right? They said, okay, my net worth, whether it's
Mhm.
equity in a house or just cash savings, retirement, you know, after debt, right? The debt's already netted out of this
Right.
figure. Was 21,000 bucks. Now it's about 12. And so that's interesting. So I think what this article is saying is basically, you know, you got all these millennials that are not buying homes, which is a problem, but
Mhm.
it becomes even more of a problem, right? When you have this baby boomer die-off phenomena,
Sell-off.
sell-off. Tell me about this
We're-
baby boomer
Don't kill us yet.
sell-off.
Don't kill
Sell-off.
us yet. We baby
What?
boomers are in our sell-off.
So what they're saying is
The
these
baby
two
boomers.
things happening at the same time are going to constrict the amount of transactions in the real estate market and also lower the average value of homes in our real estate market. Explain to the people listening what the baby boomers sell-off is. It's also a die-off
Well,
because you die and then the spouse sells it or the estate sells it. But go ahead, the sell-off. We'll call it the sell-off.
okay. We're in the sell-off now. It started in 2011 when the first baby boomers turned 65, and traditionally that's when we retire and we downsize our homes and we put them on the market. Now the other thing, much as we didn't take care of our infrastructure and refused to, we didn't update our homes either. And so we now have these baby boomers who are retiring. And it's interesting that the homes that are very attractive to the millennials now, the homes that not their parents lived in, but their grandparents. It's the gentrification. So our baby boomers own these smaller cottage type homes. They didn't fix them up. So Zillow and Open Door are coming in and they're fixing them up and then flipping them, but which is basically pushing the price up. The problem is the millennials, because of their student debt, aren't buying homes at the rate that prior generations did because they don't have the money, they do have the debt. So we've got opposing forces. My fear is, though, that the baby boomer die-off, which will start in 2023 when the first baby boomer hits 77 years of age, we're going to have a flood of homes. And unless those millennials get rid of that debt and start buying homes at a higher rate, we may be looking at a real estate bubble. I believe this bubble already exists in the higher end where I work. I work in Birmingham. A luxury home is $750,000 or more. In this market, 50% of the homes that come to market in any given year since 2011 for over $750,000, 50% of them sell. The other 50 don't. They're just sitting there, and husband dying, wife is sitting in a $1 million home. I just went to one yesterday where he died in 2017. She went into the nursing home earlier this year, and a 36-year-old boy owns this house, and it's sitting empty. And it's a $2 million home, and it's been on the market now for 3 years.
3 years. Now, when let's say
3 years. Oh hell, I've been in them that've been on the market for 10 years.
Okay, so
for $2 million.
Yeah, so let's because this article talks about this a little bit. So, you know what you guys got to understand about this, and again, we're talking about the die-off, not the sell-off at this point. So
Yeah.
what happens is
The die-off's only 3 years away.
yeah, the die-off. So let me explain the die-off. The boomer number one dies, right? It gives it the, you know, it's inherited by boomer number two, lives in the house, says, my husband says, and of course, an assumption that the man dies first because of life expectancy
Right.
in America, says, my husband says this house is worth X, let's say 2 million in your case, and I won't sell for a penny less. So she's like your lady. She moves into a retirement home. She keeps it on the market for 3 years because she doesn't give a shit because she's got money in the bank and her bills are being paid at the retirement home or whatever. My husband says, and then what happens is she dies, and the kids, in a real life example, the 36-year-old gets a hold of the estate, and he's like, man, I got $2 million in cash sitting right there, and he tells the agent, listen, everybody's passed on, the dust is settled, dump it, right? And,
Exactly.
and then house prices drop 30-40%. And what they're predicting is on luxury houses where there was a die-off, where they didn't sell while they were alive. They're saying 20 million seniors will sell their houses in the next 15 years, but only 13 million will be able to sell. So 7 million
Exactly.
will not be able to sell. And this is we're talking about luxury homes here. I'm not sure what stat they're using, maybe over some price. These are luxury homes.
It varies by city. And really, you're exactly right. And I think the other thing you throw into the equation is the house is in Birmingham, Alabama. The kids live all over the country. And every month they get a bill for the HOA dues. Every month they get a bill for you still got to cut the grass. You still got to heat it. You still got to air condition it. So it becomes a financial drain. And they contact the real estate agent and say, just turn it into cash. And so the $2 million house sells for 1.2. I've seen it. Now, what does that do to the guy who's next door, who in 2008 paid $2 million for his house and still has a $1.5 million mortgage on it? He goes underwater.
Yeah.
He goes underwater.
Interesting. Right.
Have we been there before?
Yes, sir.
Have we been there before? I think we have. Then on the other side of it, you got gentrification, so that the young people don't want the big houses, even if they could afford them. They want to live in the city near the bars. They'll send their kids to private schools. I see this saying, we're not worried about the school systems. We'll send our kids to private schools. And so the schools don't matter anymore. So is there a bubble? Yeah, I think there's a bubble. Is it going to happen in downtown? No. Is it going to happen in the walk-in communities? No. It's going to happen in those 1990 gated golf course communities.
Whoa. Where
my generation wanted to show my peers, I made it. I got a bigger house than yours. My community had 3 golf courses. Yours only has 1. And it's 15 miles outside the city. They're going to turn into, I don't know what they're going to turn into. You look back to past history, remember those mansions that were close in? They turned into lawyers' offices and businesses.
What are you talking about?
I don't know what. Well, we have a community called, in your inner city, you had executive homes. And in the 90s, when everybody moved out, nobody wanted those homes. Now everybody wants them again. They are the gentrification. They are the mansions that were built in the 30s, the 20s and 30s that nobody wanted in the 90s.
Interesting.
And they turned into wedding venues. They turned into lawyers' offices. We even have one in our community that sells wedding dresses.
Fascinating.
Now,
fascinating.
People want to buy those. Now, through gentrification, that's where the young people want to live.
That's crazy. Well, listen,
they don't want to live.
That's well, this is interesting. Well, Carrie, we are out of time, so let's wrap this up.
Okay.
3 really good stories here. I appreciate you coming on today and subbing out for Mr. Kevin Kaufman. And guys, stay tuned for Carrie's episode, which will come out later on this summer. I appreciate you jumping in, Carrie, and I wish the best of luck to you. If I'm
my pleasure.
Ever in your neck of the woods, you're in Alabama, right? Where are you?
Birmingham, Alabama.
Birmingham, Alabama. If I'm ever in Birmingham, Alabama, Carrie, I'll look you up. We'll get together and break some bread.
Okay. Come on down. We'll see a good football game.
Sounds good. Have a good day.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you for listening to State of the Market, a creation of Real Estate Rock Stars. Hey, everybody, if you want to comment on what you just heard, the best place to comment, for whatever reason, culturally, it appears the best place to comment is YouTube. Yeah, just go to YouTube and type in Real Estate Rockstars Radio. And you could comment right there, no holds barred.